Hi guys, good morning. I found something very interesting in one of my magazines, and it's by Time, called The Science of Addiction. And the topic is it written in the genes? So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Hey baby, you just spilled my freaking drink. All right, that's how they get the drink from me. Manipulation, you see, from puppies. Today, the debate is largely settled through there is no clear victor. Experts now recognize that every human being is the product of both DNA and environment, which interact in endlessly complex ways to produce any number of outcomes. That's not to say that the ratio of genetics to environment is the same from person to person. Just as one person's genetic risk from heart disease or diabetes differ from another's, not everyone's risk for addiction is the same. While identical twins share the same DNA, this is interesting. If you understand the difference between fraternal and identical, fraternal twins each have their own genetic blueprints and are no more alike in that respect than any other two siblings that are not identical twins. The study found that the alcohol use disorders tended to show up much more commonly in both members of identical twin pairs than in the fraternal twin pairs. That's something really cool. Based on the findings and their subsequent analysis, the study also determined that between 48 and 58% of a man's risk for an alcohol disorder is dependent on genetic variables, while the remainder of the risk comes to the environmental factors comes from. So, when the researchers said that they anticipate there are thousands of variants that contribute to genetic susceptibility for addiction, and that's kind of self-explanatory. Genes and gene variants work in concord, not in isolation, and each may have an effect on the operation of all the others. Think of them as like billiard balls coming off another to produce a particular pattern, except in a far more orderly way. For this reason, identifying a single addiction-related gene usually isn't enough to estimate its role in a person's risk for a substance disorder. However, there are exceptions. So, the human genome, which is a person's complete genetic blueprints, contains up to 25,000 genes. From one person to the next, more than 99% of the genetic sequences that comprise these genes are identical. It's the variant in less than 1% that determines a person's unique traits, from height to eye color to the way the brain processes information. That is something I'm going to research on, man. Seriously. ADHD, perfect pitch, PTSD, something, brain processed information. It's fucked. Alright, so mushy brain keeps going. Some of these genes affect enzymes related to alcohol dehydrogenase. And both of these enzymes play a role in the way the human body metabolizes ethanol, which is pure alcohol. And that goes back to the identical twins and the fraternal twins as well. We know that this is important for people that are in the executive level. We know entrepreneurs and CEOs tend to be more risk-taking and sensation-seeking. One of the researchers says there are ways to channel these sorts of impulses towards constructive activities. I got addiction. I'm naturally born with addiction issues or addiction genes or whatever, addictive personality, but it doesn't mean that, I would go and drink alcohol and, do drugs and all that. I don't even touch anything of that shit. Not even one drop of it. When we can compare the DNA of opiate users, oh my God, okay, I can't talk about this opiate thing. Okay, there's also research on animals that suggests these epigenetic changes may even be able to pass down to an individual's offspring. If you give opioids to a female rat, it passes on down, and it is possible that it passes on to generation to generation. The future of addiction research will surely produce new insights that will shape more effective treatment and prevention strategies. There are already remedies for drugs in drug format to treat alcohol use disorder. And that one of them is called Antabuse, Antabuse. For those of you who want to get off alcohol, ask your doctor about that. But today, what experts has learned about the genetic of addiction can help people avoid trouble and find relief. Genetics are not our destiny. I think that's wrong. But anyways, that's your opinion. Bye.